Welcome to the show. This is where your offers get sharper, your messaging gets stronger, and your business becomes impossible to ignore. Let's begin. This is the Marketing Makeover Show. Let me fix your marketing in real time. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Makeover Show. I'm really excited today because I have Deb here with me, and she is in a spot that most people in business find themselves in, which is a crossroads. So my only goal for you today, Deb, is to really focus on helping you find clarity and know the next 5 steps that you can take, and really kind of learn more of the decision-making frameworks around when you get to these moments where you have a lot of cool things you could do, determining from a demand-first mindset and alignment mindset, which one should I chase? Which rabbit should I chase? And that's where you're going to find the most momentum and success, is finding that one thing and going all in. So that's my goal for you today. So if you're watching for the first time, please like and subscribe. The Marketing Makeover Show is brought to you by Pocket Marketer, which is a world-class marketer in your pocket. And I'm Chris Moore, the founder of Pocket Marketer. But Deb, excited to have you. Please, for everyone watching, everyone listening, can you kind of just tell us a little bit about your business, your background, kind of what's going on right now in this crossroads?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me, Chris. I'm very excited to be here. I originally built this business with the mission to empower small businesses by simplifying the complexity of AI, listening to their unique challenges and making sure that whatever we come up with to drive that measurable growth is still true to their brand voice. And so that's very important to me. I realize that a lot of people don't understand AI and automation, and they don't understand why they should use it or even how to get started using it. And I wanted to make that easy and accessible.
Love it. So with brand voice, it seems like branding is something you're passionate about, which is some people really value brand and understand how important it is, and others have found success without having to make that a focus. Is that something that really is something you're passionate about and you've had a background in, is the branding and design side?
Absolutely. So I have a marketing background where I've helped people develop full stack marketing, an entire brand voice, everything from fonts to colors to the way they want to sound, their tone, their personas. So it's very important to me as I move into the AI space that I help people try to stay true to that. I don't want to change anything about who they think they are and how they feel like they come across to their customers. I just want to make it better.
So when it comes to AI implementation, so far, and I want to get to the crossroads in a moment, because without going over that, it's going to be tough to really help you get a breakthrough here. So when it comes to AI implementation, obviously that's a very broad term. So have you been focusing and niching in or specializing in one part of the automation or implementation process or the other?
Yeah, so far I've just mainly been focusing on listening to what the client's needs are. And I've done everything from figuring out how to get them to automate emails, responding to emails automatically when it comes into their inbox, or setting up workflows so that they can figure out how to take, say, a company meeting and put it into a system whereby it gets fed into their CRM, into whatever they use to make sure that their project planning is done appropriately and that everybody knows, when they leave the meeting, what their tasks are.
Okay.
That seems to have been one of the things that a lot of the people that I spoke to was that they were really interested in.
So that makes sense. And I understand your background. You did tell me earlier when we had a conversation that you have an existing agency, or whether you've been doing it as a full agency with a team or a freelancer, but you've been working on content and design. Yes. Have you been working with local businesses there where you live? Or have you been working with businesses of a certain niche all over the country, or how does that work?
No, well, I say no, but I guess you could say I've done a lot with the nonprofit area.
Okay.
Only because it was all word of mouth. I didn't have do any advertising with my marketing company. So primarily it was nonprofits, but all different kinds of nonprofit. I also, did some brand management for salons, hair salons, and a couple of photographers, helping them with their social media and how they present themselves, as well as 1 or 2 dentist offices.
Okay, great. So let's pivot now to the crossroads. Kind of like what's going through your mind right now. It seems like you're kind of at an impasse where you have to make a decision on what direction you want to go in, who you want to work for, or what type of problems you want to solve, what kind of clients you want to serve, what service you want to offer. So just tell us what's going through your head, and then we'll get to clarity from there.
Yeah, so I started out with this idea that I was going to go in, really listen to what the clients had to say and find out, pinpoint their pain and try to solve that pain for them, right? So basically a salesy type approach. But my sales approach has always been to listen first, and that's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, another idea presented itself whereby I joined a group and started doing some talking at local conferences and doing presentations and things like that. So I thought, well, maybe I should stick with that vein and do AI seminars and workshops to help demystify to either an organization or community that helps them figure out what AI does, how it can work for them, but more in a group setting. So that was kind of my crossroad. Do I focus on that, or do I stay with the behind the scenes and then doing the building myself? Or do I perhaps stay with listening and then get someone else to help me build?
Great. This is good for me to know. So I'll start with some very just universal truths and frameworks that I would recommend you go through, and we'll do it together right now. So
Perfect.
Number one, do you want to solve one problem a million times, or do you want to solve a million different problems one time each? That's your first question. It's an interesting thought though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the consultative framework of let me sit down, assess the needs, create a custom proposal, you are going into fulfillment hell. And that's not in a negative way. It's just that's what it is. It's the idea of solving a different problem for everyone in your Rolodex or everyone in your client base is a very burnout focused and centric model that's going to lead to burning out. It's also leading to inefficiency. It's leading to capacity issues. And usually it's hard to SOP and hand off because you're doing something different every time. So that's the one negative thing I would say. And that to me, it would rule that out immediately. The second thing I would go towards is generalists get paid general dollars, specialists get specialty dollars. Like, would you go to somebody as a general surgeon to get brain surgery? No, you would go to a specialist, right?
Right.
If you don't specialize in something, most people don't trust you. Whenever someone says, well, what can you do for me? Well, and you say, well, what are you having problems with? It's kind of a losing battle right out of the gate. I don't know whoever taught that to the world, but they don't need to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where having a discovery session and listening, which is what you should be doing, just like a doctor would listen and then they would diagnose and they would prescribe. Mm-hmm. You should do that, but you should do it with only a certain amount of people, certain people who have certain problems that you're trying to intentionally attract because you offer a very productized solution. So a productized solution is that one problem you're solving again and again. The fulfillment is productized because it's predictable, it's repeatable, it's easy to fulfill, it's easy to hand off, easy to delegate, versus a service tends to have a lot more complexity. It's just a very different type of business. There's a book called Built to Sell by George Warlow, George or John Warlow. Great book. He talks about Alex Stapleton and his agency. He wants to go sell his marketing agency. And he goes to this advisor friend of his and mentor, and he gives him these 6 steps to getting the business ready to build to sell. And one of the first things he did is productize. He said, looking at all your clients, not only do you have customer concentration issues and you're worth nothing, but you're solving a different problem for every client. So he ended up going down to just one thing, and then everything got easier. He got rid of half of his staff, his margins doubled, and then he had predictability. He could actually hit deadlines, and he wasn't having scope creep with every client because he only offered one thing. So just some fundamental frameworks of try to solve one problem again and again and again, and you'll be way happier than trying to solve a different problem for each person. So that's number one. The second thing is the specialty versus generalist. So niching is very, very important in saying, I only work with people who do this, that have this problem, who are in this price range, right? It's so easy to really identify what I call as the ideal strike zone or the ideal win scenario. And if it falls outside of that, you don't touch it. It's like a rule. Yeah. It's also with integrity. Like I know if a business is here, I am going to crush it. And anything outside of it, you don't take the money. And it's so much, it's liberating when you can operate at that level. When you think about when you were younger and you first started doing marketing, like we'll take money from anybody who has a dream idea, who can can fog a spoon. And I was there in 2014 when I had my first agency. We took money from anybody.
Yeah.
And my agency, I exited in late 2021, which was very much a much more advanced and sophisticated agency in the medical, spa, plastic surgery, dermatology, ophthalmology space. If you weren't already doing 2 million in revenue, you're already not putting in 10 to 15 grand already in marketing and have been for a while. You don't have the right mindset, and you look like we call the PETA factor, pain in the ass factor. If it's low, then we'll take you. And if we think we can crush it, we'll take you. If we didn't crush it, or any of those things weren't there, we wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole, right? So it's liberating to have that ability, but you got to start with niching, being a specialist in something. And that's usually a specialty either in the niche and the type of industry you're serving, or the exact service you're offering, which is a subsegment of a bigger thing, right? So like someone says, I do marketing. Well, that's very ambiguous and it's large compared to somebody who says, I only write VSL videos and I'll take your existing funnels, install my VSLs, and make them more profitable. Like that's a niche. That could be an industry niche or service niche, right? So that's what I would start with identifying. The second thing you thought about doing, which was really a cool idea, is kind of not necessarily being the fulfillment arm, but more the sales and marketing, which to be fair is way more valuable than fulfillment. Because the idea of having a conversation with somebody and then building an AI automation, there's thousands and thousands of people in Fiverr, Upwork. There's armies of people overseas that do this better than you and I could ever do it. It's complete commoditization, right? And it's going to completely get more and more and more commoditized. And having people who can do that, you can always outsource it, but you're never going to do it as well as they can do it. But they're not getting sales and marketing and acquiring customers because they don't have your skill set. So I would lean into my strengths. I do like the idea of focusing on executing the sales and marketing and then having someone else do fulfillment. But I would stick with my same advice of somewhat productization and specializing in one or two services, because if you think it's hard to solve a different problem for everybody, imagine how hard it is to sell a different solution or promise to everybody and then let somebody else worry about fulfilling. What happens if they don't fulfill? You're the one that looks bad, not them, right? So when you're the customer facing person, it's even more nerve wracking compared to having one group of people that they do all your fulfillment. They're at 20% of your overall price you're charging is what you pay them because they're outsourced, and you have a very consistent, repeatable, manageable process because you're doing the same thing again and again and again, right? It's so much easier. That's where businesses scale. So with that being said, now let's go to being kind of the front person, the front lady, the idea of seminars and events. That to me, that's more of a tactic to create prospects more than anything else. It's one way to get in front of people, right? So to give you an example, one of our businesses, Dealmaker Wealth Society, we have this really cool map where we have every 3 weeks, we have a conversion event, and it's either going to be an online summit. And these are like 30, 40 grand in ad spend for the 3 weeks. Boom. Okay. Very similar to Brian and Francis. Then we have this other event that's only 90 minutes one time. And then we have a very specific thing we do there. Then we do another one, and we do them all in like a 24-week process, and it produces this outcome. Well, it's very repeatable. It's very easy. And us doing those webinars is the same concept of you going to a local seminar or hosting seminars. It's just a prospecting method. Ideally, have you been on my 7 Ways to Win training? Were you on that?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's in Pocket Marketer. I'll share my screen and show it to you in a minute, but I have a 7 Ways to Win consulting business customer acquisition framework system where you design 7 ways to acquire customers predictably. Part of them are scalable efforts. Some of them are non-scalable efforts. The scalable efforts usually have lower conversion rate. Non-scalable has higher conversion rates. And what you can do there is have predictability because you have redundancy in your customer acquisition. So like the idea of doing seminars truly should be one of your 7 ways to acquire customers. Comment 7 Ways to Win, and I'll drop the link to you to the 7 Ways to Win video training. It's really cool. So with all that being said, what's your reaction to that before we keep going?
No, you're 100% right. I think I'm just trying to be all things to everyone because I like to solve problems. I'm a problem solver, and that's the way that I've always operated. But yet in the business framework, that's like you said, that's just not scalable.
Well, I want to go to something else if that's okay with you. I want to talk about choosing the right customer next.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about searching for demand and the concept of the path will reveal itself.
Okay.
So when I look at the natural market, usually you have a natural market. Children, from our conversation previously, nonprofits tend to be something where in your immediate sphere of influence, you have a lot of friends and word of mouth is easy to grow. You've also worked with salons, photographers, dentists, doing brand management from what you told me earlier. I think about if I had a chance to choose my perfect customer, who would I choose and why? It's an interesting concept. So give you another analogy. I ask people who own companies, hey, if you could go to a business dealership, just like a car dealership, trade your current business in right now for a new model, newer customers, new industry, better profit margins, different products and services, what would you trade it in for, right? It's an interesting way to think about it. And you get to choose and you're able to have the ability to be intentional about who you serve, especially when you're at the crossroads you're at now. So I think going through this process is really powerful. One, I think it's kind of, you need to create the things that you want to be true, right? I want a client that already has an established business. That's not me convincing them they need to invest in marketing and usually money they don't have. I need somebody who already believes this morning when they woke up that they need to invest in marketing, automation, and stuff like that. I need to find somebody who has good margins because when I make a difference in their business, it can be very impactful. I need to find somebody who has a mindset of already searching for help rather than me convincing them they need it. Like you get to choose that. Then you say, okay, are there certain industries where what they sell has a much higher value? Well, I'll give you some examples for like home services companies. I own a home services company mastermind with my partners, Jeff and Patrick, and we help home services agencies only. Like I work with roofers, I work with spray foam insulation, I work with plumbers, and these are agencies that serve those markets and we help them grow their agency. For them, it's interesting to choose their niche. It's a very, very big deal, right? You got to think about, interesting, how does consumer behavior play into this? Well, if my toilet's overflowing and there's sewage backing up from the drains in the bathrooms, like what happened to me this week at my bowling alley I own, is a decision needed to call a plumber? No. Consumer behavior is you need it, you call it. Compared to fixing cracks in your driveway. Well, when someone sees that and they're like, yeah, I was pressure washing, I noticed all these cracks, I never noticed them before. And you call somebody to get a quote and they come out and they say, it's gonna be $6,000. You're like, oh, it's not that big of a problem, right? Some businesses require marketing and they need it. It's the lifeblood of their business. Med spas, it's the lifeblood of their business. If they don't have people walking in the door, they make no money. They're cash pay. If someone like asphalt repair or foundation repair or somebody who fixes cracks in the side of a house, and like when it's not life or death, it's not an emergency services, they need marketing. They require marketing. They rely on marketing. Compared to a plumbing company, that guy, he can be just one person and he can just stop answering his phone when he's tired of it and he doesn't want to do any work for a week. Their phones ring off the hooks, right? So it's kind of understanding what type of person do I want to work with? What type of scenario or what type of position should they already be in their mindset, where they are in their business, how much money they're making? Am I trying to help someone who sells high ticket services versus low ticket services? Where can I be the most impactful? What problem am I truly solving for them? So like there's so much of a brain, kind of just a process. It's very hard on yourself to think about all these different things. So that's why I like to create the frameworks I create around thinking about it. So what I would do in this situation, nonprofits, they don't make profit. That's the only problem with nonprofits. They're not profitable, right? And it takes a committee to allow someone to write a check. Right. In most of them. So to me, I don't think going after the public sector or nonprofits is really going to get you all that far. The sales cycles are convoluted. The sales cycles are longer. There's too many decision makers in play, and they're always on shoestring budgets at some level because they have to be at some level fiduciary of the funds that they're collecting because of the 501c3 nature. So I would cross that out unless you really just love to do it. Number two, I look at things like salons, photographers, dentists. These are local businesses. And I think one of the decisions you got to make is, am I going to go local or am I going to go bigger? And what's interesting about consulting is, believe it or not, you can consult for billionaires and make a lot more money with the same amount of time than consulting for thousandaires. People with a lot of money value consulting and time because time is money. So if I had just a consulting business and I did X, Y, and Z, I would only consult for millionaires and billionaires. I would never touch a thousandaire because the same unit of time for me is worth way more with someone with more money. It comes down to you at the same time, alignment. Like, are you doing this only for money? What motivates you? Is it the transformation? Is it just the idea of the dopamine hit of solving a problem and checking a box? Is it I'm working on a very specific financial goal to be able to retire in 5 years? Like so many things you got to think about that lead towards this. and kind of create the case to do one thing or the other. So this is all really confusing. And my goal right now was to not give you any clarity yet. So I'm going to do this.
We're on a roll.
Right? Hopefully I didn't give you any clarity yet, because this is the one universal truth that most people never say out loud. There's no perfect path. That's my first thing I'll tell you. There's absolutely no perfect path. It does not exist. Not for you, not for me, not for anybody. I'm in the business acquisition world, right? We own Dealmaker Wealth Society. And the number one thing that stops people from buying a business who come into our world, we've got 51,000 students currently. The number one reason people don't buy is because they haven't given themselves permission to choose a path. Some people come in and they are experts at their field. They've been in a very vertical industry for a long time, and they hate it, and they want to go buy a vineyard, or they want to do something different. Like the thing is choosing that path feels like such a commitment. Choosing a niche of who you want to serve or what product or service you want to give feels like so much of a commitment. And you get fearful of making the wrong choice and the opportunity costs of making the wrong choice. Is this resonating?
Yes.
Exactly it's where you get stuck, right? And we get this moment where we overanalyze it, and we know enough to know enough, and we're smart enough because we've been around the earth a couple times.
Yeah.
And we understand because we have something called perspective, right? So here's what I would recommend. This is what I recommend to all those people that I talk to in that world as well. It's not about choosing the perfect path, because you have to admit out loud it doesn't exist, number one. Number two, it's about choosing a path and allowing the perspective and feedback you experience help you refine the direction you should go. And this is where people get stuck. You don't have to worry about choosing the right path. Choose a path now and say, I'm going to try this. I'm going to go try to niche into working with just salons, and I'm going to be working with them on this, this, and this. Maybe it's implementing voice AI and automating the front desk experience so they don't have to have that person there anymore, and they can crank out 6 more haircuts per day, and times a year, that's an extra $1.2 million. Like, choose a path. It doesn't have to be the perfect path, and then be excited about the journey more than the destination. Think about, you have children?
Yes, 4.
4 children. What are the ages, if you don't mind sharing?
24, 22, 19, and 17.
It's your 17-year-old, boy or girl?
Boy.
So does he know what he wants to do when he grows up?
Yes.
He does. How many children at 17 have full clarity on that?
None.
Very few, right? The reason why some get it and they understand their path before others is because of perspective. As parents, and I have a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old, both girls, right? So they somewhat know and somewhat don't know. And they have times where they feel certain about something and then they're no longer certain anymore, because this feedback is coming to them constantly. They're getting so much new perspective that's changing the way they decide what they want. As adults, we have an overload of perspective. We know romantic perspective, we have life experience perspective, we got business perspective, we know what we don't like, we know what we like, and it makes these decisions even harder. What I think is cool about this is starting over with a fresh brain and saying, all right, I'm choosing a lane, choosing a focus, and I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go through the process. You got to remember what you can control in life as well, right? You can control your attitude and your effort. That's about it. You can't really control very much else. So you put in the right attitude, the right effort, in the right direction. And then from there, it's either going to get more and more clear that I love this. This is lucrative. I'm solving a problem that already exists. When people woke up this morning, they said, yes, I've been waiting for someone like you to come and I want to pay you to do this for me. Then you know you're on the right track. If you're getting the opposite of that, you're getting resistance. You're getting people who saying it's not that much of a problem, or ooh, that sounds like a lot of money, or you're trying to talk people into buying from you, or talk people into letting you do this for them, or talk people into the idea that they actually even need it, then obviously you're going in the wrong direction, right? That's where the path will kind of reveal itself. The other alternative way to do that, rather than picking a direction, and this is a little bit more time consuming, but may make it faster, if that makes sense. Kind of doesn't make sense. It does in my mind, is you can go talk to 100 people, people who have money, who have businesses, who have problems, and look for the patterns. Look for the moments of continuously seeing the same thing again and again and again. And not that you think they need, but they believe they need. You cannot talk someone into believing they need something, usually. It's very hard to do, right? But if you find that everyone you talk to has the same issue, and it's a big enough issue they're willing to pull out their wallet to fix it, then dive in. If you find out after testing again and again that only 2 or 3 people out of 100 you spoke to even believe that's an issue, dead end. You got to channel demand, not try to create it. So like going and having enough conversations, having these discovery sessions, and trying to identify kind of what's going on in their world. And I have actually some really good resources around this for choosing this information. I have talk tracks, I have conversation flows. all for this. And I can even pull up some of my resources and we can go through them. But like, how do you have that conversation? What kind of questions are you asking? How are we uncovering what's going on? And it's kind of an art, right? So one of the ones that I love to use is, I'm looking for it right now. Here you go. I have a 5 fundamental discovery question clusters, and I can go over this with you right now. But what I'm looking for is misalignment. I'm looking for the things that they've been ignoring that are going to come back and bite them. Because that's what keeps people up at night, right? Misalignment, which is the things that we're doing right now as a business owner that I know that I should not be doing. I know I'm being stubborn. I know I should not be doing it. I need to hand this off. The things that they've been ignoring that they're afraid that's going to come back and bite them in the ass. That's a huge one right there. And then the other thing beyond that is, the third one that I find a lot is something that they have tried to do and failed, but they haven't given up on the mission. And that's a cool one, because usually people who've seen the elephant in the room and they realize it's what it sounds, but they know they need it. It's very powerful. From what I just told you a second ago, is that giving you a little bit more clarity, kind of the idea of like the decision making behind that?
Okay. Definitely, for sure. I see where you're going with that. Sounds so much more clear when you say it.
Well, thank you. That's the goal here of this conversation, is to help you do this. Let me set the stage on what you're looking at. Can you see this, just to be clear? Or has it not been added yet? Oh, now can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So one of my books I wrote is called The Partner for Equity Playbook. It's right here. And I teach something called consulting for equity. How do we give somebody value in exchange for equity in their company, rather than them hiring you as a consultant? Something I've been doing for years, part of our deal maker group, right? But this is a discovery session, that not a pitch for that. This is more focused towards you, kind of giving you more of a framework of conversations you can have during this demand searching phase. And this is a worksheet that can help you have these meaningful discovery sessions, and then focusing on emotional triggers and the core problems causing stress or setbacks. Because the reason why people take action is not because they're trying to make more money or they're trying to save money. They're trying to take action because of the emotional symptoms they have because of their business. And that's something that you got to learn over time. So I've got a couple different question clusters. Let me explain what a question cluster is real quick. You have the ability to steer the human brain that you're speaking to into answering and giving you the answers you need. When you ask open-ended questions, or you ask one questions and then wait for a result, it's tough to steer that. But when you ask a cluster of questions, you're essentially clarifying and adding more context to the answer you're looking to hear. So this one right here is a cluster question that helps you uncover what causes them the most stress and anxiety. Because I'm telling you, things that are making them gain weight, drink alcohol, and lose sleep are the things they're willing to pull out their wallet out and pay for. Okay. So what keeps you up at night? Hey, more specifically, what are you worried about breaking in your business? You know, what's making you nervous about your business right now? I ask all three of them together. I don't let them answer. If I said, what keeps you up at night? They may say Trump's policies. They may say something else. Like, we can't control that. But when we ask it in sequence, hey, Deb, what keeps you up at night? More specifically, what are you most worried about breaking in your business right now? Or what's you most nervous about in your business at the moment? This gets you real, authentic answers, and this will show you where the pain is. And this is not from a manipulative standpoint, but listen, no pain, no cash. They do not pay. People do not take out their wallet to solve back burner problems. People do not go to the hospital when they have a scratch. They go when they have a bleeding wound. So whenever you're deciding what direction to go in, and you're testing demand, and you're trying to find where there's real enough pain in someone's business, across all these conversations to make money and have the ability to solve the problem that they're willing to pay for money to solve, this is the type of stuff that uncovers it. Not the traditional consultative framework around, tell me about this, what happens next, tell me about this department, tell me about this department. This is the stuff that gets you clients. Have you ever been taught this stuff specifically?
Not in this fashion, no.
It's very different. It's very different. It's very psychological. Next one's, what are your superpowers? This is specifically helping you identify misalignment. When I say to you, Deb, and I'm getting you excited, type I personality, I'm asking you about what lights you up, what makes you excited, what's the part of the job you freaking love.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull out everything you're doing that you don't love, and that's a reason to pay me to take it off your plate. Does that make sense? So cool. So this is what your superpowers. More specifically, does your, and then you can ask these in clusters or not, but more specifically, does your current role in the business, what you're doing right now, align with what you do best? And really, what hats are you wearing right now that you shouldn't be? You will not believe the honesty that comes from here. And people know it. People know it.
I mean, you do know it deep down. It's just sometimes you just don't want to admit it.
Correct. But this is why people pull out their wallet. One is the emotional problems of anxiety and stress. People would do anything to pay money for this. And this isn't about money. I want to make sure you hear me, not as a capitalist trying to get money out of people, but I am a sales coach. I am a consultant. I am a marketer. And I understand that getting into business, you have to have consideration exchange called money. And if you go out there, and the reason why most people get demoralized and feel like they failed is because they try to solve a problem that no one believes exists, or they solve a problem that they believe exists that no one else agrees with, or they're trying to solve a problem where the business owner says it's not that much of a problem, just like the analogy with someone who has an asphalt cracking fixing company, and you hear it's going to be $6,000. You're like, ooh, it's not that much of a problem. But these are the problems that your potential people that you're going to want to work with are willing to pay money to solve. That's how I uncover them. Okay. Number 3, what are you spending time on that you shouldn't be? This one's focusing on tasks, and really it's what's draining the business owner's energy and time that could be delegated or eliminated. And this is where automation can come into play, right? Human automation or that. So what are you spending time on right now in your business that you know you shouldn't? Specifically, are there any tasks that easily could be outsourced to a lower skill employee? Or is there anything that you've been holding on to for a while that you know deep down you should have delegated? And once again, now we have energy, we've got stress and anxiety, and we have the focus on misalignment. The last thing here is really understanding consequence, okay? So this is more tapping into the fear of loss, which is also a very powerful motivator for action, asking them to envision the negative consequences of not addressing their key issues, and you encourage them to confront this urgency of the situation, right? So with all this being said, if you don't make a change, what's going to happen? More specifically, if you don't figure out how to solve that major problem they talked about earlier, what could go wrong if this continues? And all of a sudden, you're giving a reason to be able to say, let's take action now and not push off to later, right? So it's just a little bit of a framework for you. What have you been ignoring that needs attention? There's another one. I can go over this with you today. I'm going to give this to you. Anybody watching, if you want this as well, comment worksheet, 5 fundamental discovery questions worksheet, and I'll drop the link for you. But
I love it.
It's a cool thing. It's a really cool thing because it's not manipulative at all. It's not supposed to be. This is just psychology. It's sales. It's identifying how to find somebody who's literally willing to make it a priority, because you have to make money if you're in business. For you, if I had to give you any direction here, I would take something like that. And then when I go out and speak at an AI thing, and I would set up follow-up appointments, right? So if I'm there and I meet John, and John says, wow, I really enjoyed your session, Deb, really showed me in like a spotlight on some of the things I got going on in my business. I'd love to just have a chance to pick your brain. Well, obviously that's an indicator that you're working, something's working. Set up a call with John, and John, I'd like to go in a little bit of a different direction. Then just go through that questionnaire with them and just kind of memory. You can have it as a worksheet if you want to, but you're going to find pretty quick, what is he willing to pay out his wallet to do? And when you start seeing a pattern of the same things happening again and again, that says, now I can give myself permission to niche into this focus. And the bigger the problem, the bigger amount of money they're willing to pay. One of the things you got to think about as well is, I teach this a lot. It's called quantifying the impact. You ever heard that? Its concept of this is, for anybody who doesn't know what it is the impact I'm about to create for you. What is that worth? Right. And part of the discovery process is understanding the economics of the business you're talking to. If you don't understand the sales cycle, the economics, and the way the money works, how do you charge? It's not possible to do it at an optimal way without, you don't want to price gouge somebody, but you also don't want to end up giving someone a giant proposal and then they're like, wow, we're bleeding money. And like there's no way they could say yes. Right. So the idea of saying, okay, so tell me, when you get a customer, how much do they pay? And then you understand the average revenue per customer, how many customers you can bring them if you're a marketer. And then, so if I just bring you 10 customers a month, which is 50 leads at your conversion rate at 20%, and your average customer pays you 10 grand to build a deck in their backyard, I'm literally going to bring you $100,000 a month in revenue just from engaging with you, from the things that I've seen that I can make an impact on. Wow, that's incredible, because I'm only going to charge you $3,000, right? Knowing the way this works, you can dive into all that as well. And now you can really identify, because some people have bleeding problems and no money to pay you. So you can kind of learn from both. So I'm going to shut up now, because I'll talk all day, as you know, as you can see.
No, please. It's just, it's all so relevant to me. So it's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you tell me now. So how can I serve you more than this? What's the walkaways that you you wrote down on your notepad? Like, what are the things that you want to remember later? What are the things, the decisions that you're going to say, all right, this is the next decision I'm going to make, is what direction I'm going in? What are you thinking?
Well, it's a couple of things. Going back to even asking the pain points to the client, if I turn that around onto myself, right? And say to myself, what keeps me up at night? What am I doing that's not serving the best of what I do well? And I think that that's where I'm coming to is with my Crossroads is I know what I do well. I do get very, very excited about the implementation and building something and watching it flow, but it's not 100% of what I do well. I do people, I do listening, and I do solving a problem for someone by letting them understand how we could put a solution to it. And a lot of people don't even know that there are solutions available and they have these pains. And I think that's what fuels me and gets me excited is when I see something and go, I know I can fix that for you. I know I can implement this, or I can write this, or I can design this. And you're going to save so much time, effort, headache, heartache, and then watching them get excited. So I think for me, staying in front of the customer is big, but then also going back to what you said about, niching down, I have to get over two things. One, wanting to solve every single person's problem. And two, being afraid of picking the wrong path. And I think that's probably every solopreneur's biggest worry, and probably what does keep us up at night is, if I pick this, is it going to be wrong? Am I going to lose money? Is this a bad decision? And so I think that's probably what has me in my analysis paralysis mode is I spent so much time designing and organizing the actual business with colors and fonts and making my logo, because that's my comfort zone. I know how to do that really, really well. But then when it came to making business decisions and scoping down to a niche that I need to pick, I've stepped back and drug my feet, and that doesn't make money.
Have you ever read the book by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy? It's called Who Not How. It's a great book. And what I love about this book, and I'll pull it up on Amazon as we're talking here, and I'll share my screen. What I love about Who Not How is he talks about the concept of procrastination. And what I thought was so interesting is he said procrastination is actually one of the gifts that God's given us. And I was like, what? What do you mean by that? He said that procrastinating is actually a sign that you shouldn't be doing the tasks that you're trying to avoid. And it's not a negative thing. It's literally a sign that you are going in a direction that you don't need to be going into. Wow. So it's like the idea of, instead of saying, how do I get this done? It says, who can do this for me? So every time you feel procrastination, it's literally being reluctant. It's more reluctance to move forward because it feels misalignment or it's uncomfortable, right? This same author, I love this author, his name's Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He's the kind of the ghost author of Dan Sullivan. He wrote a book called Willpower Doesn't Work. And it's an incredible book as well that talks about success in a very, very different way. So I would definitely encourage you to take a look at both of those. But what's interesting is what's triggered me to talk about that is the idea of reluctance, right? And you're reluctant to jump into the things that make you uncomfortable. And it's not because it's uncomfortable. It's human nature that we do that. It's because we're trying to preserve comfort. That's why we do it. And then that book, Willpower Doesn't Work, breaks it down in a beautiful fashion. And I have a YouTube video on this as well. But what I think about there is this a who not how moment? Is there a who not how moment there where you could pretty much have people in your group with you, or your company or your team or partners or employees that can do the things that you don't want to necessarily do, that you're reluctant to do, but they are literally excited and they've been waiting for someone to hire them to do this one thing because they love it, right? So that's number one. Sometimes staying in your zone of genius is a great idea, and you could do that and kind of let everybody else do the roles that they love. The second book that comes to my mind is a book called Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. And I'm going to pull this up as well. And Patrick Bet-David, ever PBD, he's a big time player. He has a company called Valuetainment. He's massive. Nowadays, he's gone pretty political. He's like all over Fox News and things, but for a long time, he was not that way. He's just an insurance guy. But one of the cool things about Patrick Bet-David in this book is he talks about the difference between an entrepreneur and like an intrapreneur. And when he talks about the two different concepts, what's really interesting about it is that some people want to have the flexibility, the feedback loop, the value, and the performance rewards of being an entrepreneur. But a lot of the things that entrepreneurs have to do make them uncomfortable or they're reluctant. He talks about a concept called an intrapreneur. And that's somebody who's in a performance-based role without the risk, working in somebody else's organization, but in a way where they can enjoy the benefits of business ownership. It's like a really cool concept. So it's something I would look into. And it's interesting. Like for me, when I hear you talk about being a problem solver, one of the things that comes to my mind is the concept of EOS. Are you familiar with EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system? Traction, get a grip. He talks about the two main characters and roles in a business is the integrator and the visionary, right? So I think you probably have a little bit of both in you, visionary and integrator, but the idea of organizing, executing, solving problems, checking it off the list, pushing a project to bed and starting a new one, it seems like it lights you up, right? So that's a sign that intrapreneurship may even be a better route for you than entrepreneurship. And it's not negative or positive. I'm an intrapreneur. I am an executor. I'm an integrator. My visionary partner, Carl, at Dealmaker Wealth Society, is the visionary. I'm the integrator. I'm the one who executes his vision. I sold my company or bought out of my company and I went to execute his vision and we made a ton of money doing it. And I get to have all the fun stuff I like to do and not to do the crap that I don't want to do. I get to create, I get to market, I get the feedback loop of the dopamine hits of seeing my Slack saying all these new sales coming in. Like that's the fun stuff. And I don't have to touch the hiring and the firing. I don't have to touch the talking to the board. I don't have to talk any of that stuff because I'm an entrepreneur kind of combo. And I operate better in that role. Pocket marketer, interestingly enough, I am the visionary. I'm not the integrator. And I have a CMO and I've got Jeremy and my brother Randy and Daniel and Suhail, my partners, and I've got all these people. And I play different roles in some of my companies. But it's kind of interesting to kind of see that sometimes we have options available to us we don't even think about, which is why, obviously it's why this is such a powerful concept is you can go in and get equity and all the benefits of business ownership in someone's company without having to take all the risk and without having to take the risk of starting up. Because starting a company is very difficult. If anybody hasn't figured that out yet, that's why 96% of them fail.
Yes, for sure.
That's what the Bible of business, in my opinion, the E-Myth by Michael Gerber talks about is the attrition, right?
Yes.
So I think for you right now, it's all about finding something that you love and lights you up that also gives you fulfillment and alignment. I think keeping an open mind around the vehicle would be a smart idea, whether it's your own business and it's a small consulting firm and it's just you and you take on only 2 clients at a time and you dive deep with somebody who has deep pockets, who has a problem that you can really quantify, you're going to make a huge impact. So integrity wise, you feel good and financially you feel good. And that's a perfectly cool business. And you can do that. The other option is to create a little assembly line of human automation and AI automation and solve the same problem again and again and again and again for an industry where there's an overwhelming amount of demand. Another problem is taking your exact skill set as an integrator who also has the ability to affect change in marketing and find somebody who's got a beautiful vision, lots of money, who's hit a plateau and they need help and dive all in on one project and make a ton of money doing that. I've made millions doing that. And that's what I've done. That's another option. Next option you have is to find somebody who loves the fulfillment or loves the sales and you love the fulfillment and partner together and stay in your lane. Like you have so many cool options. So I gave you a lot of probably convoluted thoughts. Then I tried to give you a lot of clarity and then I gave you way too many options to choose one at the end here, right? That's so maybe I didn't serve you well today. So my apologies. I think go ahead.
Not at all. So I think of myself as the big picture thinker. And I don't love the details.
So you're more of a visionary, but you like to execute, which is interesting.
I know. I like to execute because I'm a techie. I really love why things work and why they do what they do. But at the end of the day, I'm also, I'm also ADHD and I I have big visions and big ideas, and I get really excited about that. And then I get bored when it becomes either A, monotonous, or B, it's too many steps, and then I just want to go on to the next big, pretty thing.
What motivates you? Are you motivated by money, fulfillment, impacts?
I would like to say money, because I really, that needs to be my top motivator, but I'm a feel-good person, so it's always going to be impact.
Which that tracks. I mean, money and performance is kind of the one category, like people that they have to win. They're competitive. They want to be the best, and they want to make as much money as humanly possible. That's one thing. The other, sometimes there's other things that we motivate us as well. And it's just feeling like we're doing good work sometimes is a big motivator. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the idea of the feedback loop and seeing the outcome and how it changes someone's lives and the impact of that is a motivator. Sometimes people just want to enjoy what they do and they want to live a simple life. Sometimes abundance is the motivator. There's all types of things that motivate you. And I think knowing yourself and knowing what motivates you and trying to align what you're doing with your motivation, you'll find a lot more alignment. It's like if you were a commission-only salesperson, that's your only job, and you're not motivated by money, it's going to be a terrible job. Mm-hmm. Or if you take someone who's very motivated by money, very, very driven, ambitious, and they want money, and you put them in a dead-end job where they're going to be on salary with no performance, they're going to be a misalignment. So I think just like you would match motivation with an employee in a role, we got to match that with ourselves as well. So knowing now that you've corrected me, which is good. I mislabeled you as an integrator. You're a visionary. You know that monotonous and mundane tasks, repetitive tasks, or when it's no longer fun, you're like, just throw the towel in. This isn't worth doing, right? So I think for you, the idea of the business development, the creating the opportunities, mingling with the people, watching the epiphanies and the breakthroughs is powerful for you. I guess the question is, where does that marry with actually charging people for things? Would you rather just do 2 projects, very time and specific dates they end, and then just do like 6 good projects a year, make 15, 20 grand for each one, and then you're very, very happy because you have a lot. Like my mom's a project lady. Mm-hmm. She flips a house and you think, oh my gosh, and she just sells it. She wants to do something else. Like it's all about the project. It's not about the destination. So if that's you, then doing consulting and 60-day sprints with people is a lot of fun. Don't lock yourself down for a 3-year period though, like consulting for equity. But maybe projects are a great thing for you to do. Maybe if you start a productized business where you're solving the same problem again and again, maybe you'll be bored of it really, really quickly. Then don't do that, right? Mm-hmm. I think if you go the project route and the consultant route, I would do 2 things very consistently. One, I'd have a very consistent schedule and process of getting in front of people with money. That's step 1. Like, don't go do nonprofits very often if you can help it, because they don't have any money. Like the idea, some of them do, by the way, some of them do, but it's harder to get paid what you're worth from those people.
Yeah, I've done that. So.
Yeah, and that's the feel good stuff, right? But if you go around and just really mingle and show value to people with a lot of money and businesses and go in and find the problems they have and have those conversations, you're going to find there's a lot of money to be made, but also a lot of impact for you to make at the same time. And maybe doing 1 to 2 projects at a time allow you to really be more impactful with the time you're spending. And then you can have a finite end date on it. And then if you find the perfect match, just keep moving. That may be a good route.
Yeah, I definitely like things with an end date. And I know that, everyone that I talk to says, well, you need to have something where they're coming back again and again and again.
That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, that's just not something that I'm looking for. It's not
true.
Yeah.
People give advice, they shop it in their own pocket, right? We talked about it from an omniscient standpoint, almost like a 30,000 foot level, looking at the entire board and talking about why each path could make sense and when it would make sense. Like anybody who gives you advice and speaks in absolute truths, you should not listen to them. And that's just my opinion. And and I've never met anyone besides me actually who doesn't speak in absolute truths. Yeah. I hate people who say, you should do this. This is the way to do it. That's not true. So I'm glad you feel that as well. But the answer is like any good lawyer, the answer should always be, it depends. That should be the right answer. So I think for you, you got to choose your path. But I think knowing yourself, knowing what motivates yourself, knowing your own characteristics, what you like, what you don't like, the idea of liking projects, liking a start and stop date, hating mundane or repetitive nature of doing something for too long, then maybe the consulting type stuff you're doing, and the reason why you've enjoyed it is because it does give you and lends towards that direction. The only change I would make is two things. One, only consult for millionaires and billionaires. Don't consult for thousandaires. That's number one. Number two, make sure you're changing the way you talk to people up front to find the real pain rather than having the same conversation everybody else is having. How many people do you know in your circle from being a part of whatever groups you're a part of that want to go out and solve automation with AI? How many people do you know? Lots?
No.
You don't? What circle did you come from? Did you come from the AI for business world or no?
I am in the AI for business world. So
a lot of them, that's what they're doing is they're trying to go out and solve people's problems with AI.
Yes, but they're my only connection to the AI world, period.
Got it. So, but you got to have pattern interruption though. You got to talk different than everybody else. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. So that's usually when I tell people what I do, or I ask them, pain point questions, almost immediately they say, I need to talk to you.
Okay.
We need to talk.
Okay.
And then I get excited and I come home and I put them in, I put them in my LinkedIn and I follow up with them. And then I wasn't putting them in a CRM.
Okay.
So I met with a marketing person the other day that was explaining something to me that I thought was pretty poignant, which is everybody that you meet goes into your CRM because they are a potential customer. And I never really thought of it that way because I like to meet people, get to know them. And I think it's more of a non-pushy way to do it. But at the end of the day, you still have to ask for the sale. And the thing is I've been in sales and that was never hard for me to do when I was working for someone else, but it's a lot harder for me to do working for myself.
Love it. So two things. One, CRMs and sales have nothing to do with each other. A CRM is an organizational system to keep people that you should be following up with any nature at top of mind, organize them, and then have the ability to automate some of those touch points so it's not all manual, right? So it's not exactly sales. When it comes to the idea of asking for the sale before versus asking for the sale now, one of the reasons that if you told me right now, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, are you making tons of sales and every conversation you have turns into a sale? Probably not, right?
No.
How many of them are? If you have 10 conversations where you felt good, you got excited, you followed up, how many of those people are turning into sales?
Two.
Okay.
But it's my fault. It really is. It's because I am reluctant to follow up with them because I'm afraid that I'm not going to do it right, or I'm not going to be able to perform what I say I can perform, even though I know I can. Okay. It's just, this is
it's new. So you feel like if you had more confidence and you felt like you had a more detailed system, could you be more confident about closing 5 out of 10?
Oh, absolutely.
What price point are we talking about when you close somebody?
Well, I haven't really been charging what I'm worth, to be honest, just because I was trying to get those first couple under my belt. Right. Sure. So nowhere near what it should be.
Give me some numbers though, if you don't mind. Give me some numbers just so I can understand.
Well, so in my contract, I say that my hourly rate is $150. And then I try to take how many hours I think it's going to take to build whatever it is. And I've always been wrong. It always takes me a lot longer.
Okay.
So then technically, if it takes me twice as long, then my hourly rate just basically went down to 75.
Correct. So a couple of things I would do right out of the gate. So go back to my concept of quantifying the impact. One of the biggest problems we have is we charge incorrectly, or we don't know how to charge or what to charge, and we have no system to anchor or logically justify what we charge, right? So when you learn how to quantify the impact, it's part of your discovery process where you're talking about what's going to happen after I solve this problem, understanding the mechanics of it, understanding the money of it, understanding what you're doing. You're either helping someone make money or save money or relieve stress. Like you have to be able to quantify how much that's worth. And then that tells you what you can charge for it. I would never charge by the hour in general. You're limiting yourself and you're also setting the expectation. The next thing, if you told me you charge $150 an hour, as a business owner, I do not write blank checks, neither should you. What's the next thing they should say? Well, how long do you think it's going to take? How many hours is it going to take? You're going to get that 100% of the time, right? Well, no one's going to write a blank check unless they just are like filthy rich. They fell in love with you and they're just like, I don't care anymore. Just do it. So like learning how to charge is a really, really good thing. part of what we talked about earlier, and when I said the ideal win scenario, is you have to start to feel comfortable and confident as if this falls in this scenario, I'm going to crush it, period. And what happens is when you feel confident, your price tag goes up because they feel confident, and you're predicting success with their investment, not gambling, which has a lot of value to it. So I think learning how to charge a little bit better and charge more is probably part of the thing. But if you can't figure out how much of a problem you're solving for them, you can't charge what you're worth, right? So when you get into discovery with somebody and you get to the very end and find out they have a small budget and their business is a lot less money than you thought they did, and you couldn't charge near what you would normally charge because they simply can't afford it, that's your fault. You should have found that out up front. And there's ways to do that in the sales conversation process, and understanding and asking for these context clues, and asking about revenue and asking about profit margins and tell me what happens next. And like, you can learn how to quantify that so much faster. You also have the ability to leverage this talk track. And I think we should do another one. I'll bring you all on here and teach you sales. I've been teaching sales for years on this exact framework, but I like to use statements like I tend to attract. And I like to say, hey, I tend to attract somebody who's doing at least 2 million a year in revenue. So the problems that I solve for them are usually things that help them eliminate labor costs, and usually significantly. Number two, they automate tasks that can take away from human automation, which also eliminates labor costs. Or it's things that are more focused on the sales and marketing things that can really help them make a lot more money in revenue without spending more money in ads. And they're like, whoa. And like, they want to apply for being the person you're trying to attract. They want to become that person from there. And if somebody's like, oh, well, I'm at $500,000 in revenue, I'm bleeding money right now, like, you can weed them out much faster. So it's just, there's a lot of little things that go into it. But I think to end this, because we're right at an hour for this episode, we're right at an hour, which is a good time for us to probably pivot and kind of wrap this up. And we can do some sales training at another time inside the Pocket Marketer group stuff. But I think my big walkaway for you, and this is just me, and you can tell me what you think, is one, we've identified definitely a visionary. You definitely are project oriented. You love the outcome and the moment of being able to say, I solved that problem. You like to have integrity and only make promises you can keep. And from there, you've also identified that you're not charging what you're worth, right? I think the idea of productizing or doing something again and again may make you bored, like we talked about. Your skill sets are obviously human, one-to-one connection. Sales is something you've been doing a long time and you're good at. You know how to talk the talk and walk the walk on the marketing side. You love the challenge of being able to say, I can solve any problem, especially with the right people, the right systems, with AI and where it is. So I think stepping into your own new identity would be number one for me. I'd upgrade my own identity. Like, when you talk about currently what you do, when someone says, what do? You need to learn how to upgrade how you answer. Number one, you need to be more specific, and you need to be able to step into the role that you're capable of doing. And I think once you do that, you'll start acting like that person, and people will start seeing you as that person really, really quick, right? Give you an example. A friend of mine, Derek, he played professional baseball. He was in one of my masterminds in a mansion in Orlando. And he said, I'm just a baseball player. People don't take me seriously in this world. And I said, we'll never take you seriously as long as you call yourself a baseball player. I said, you're an investor and a deal maker, and you help people acquire businesses by helping them with down payments. I said, you're in more demand than they are. And until you see yourself and treat yourself that way and show yourself that way to the world, they won't see you that way, right? So I think stepping into your own greatness and having the confidence of being able to bid higher amounts, and having the trust in yourself and confidence in yourself and your network that you can find the solution, even if it takes a little bit longer, but you've padded the proposal to cover those type of errors, is going to make you a lot happier. I think being comfortable with doing several projects a quarter, a couple projects a quarter, and charging more and doing less work and having that work-life balance would be lovely. And then I think the one big walkaway is get into rooms with people with money.
Oh, yeah.
Don't mess around with people without money. And it's not a negative thing. They need help too, but that's for that 25-year-old version of you who took money from anybody who can fog a spoon. You're now a different version of you that has perspective and wisdom, gravitas, and you're a different version of you that really only works with certain types of people in these scenarios where I know I'm going to crush it. And you can feel that conviction from my conversation with you. To me, that'd be the biggest walkaway.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. I mean, that's spot on. And, I do need to hone in on that a little bit better.
You got to give yourself permission to get excited about it, because your energy, I think, is one of your greatest strengths. Like me, I'm freaking jazzed about Pocket Marketer and Deal Maker Wealth Society. Like I'm jazzed about it.
I'm jazzed about Pocket Marketer.
Thank you. And you feel that because
you
feel how much I believe in it. And when you're having a conversation with somebody and you look them in the eye and you shake their hand and say, let's go solve this problem together, and they feel that you're a trusted, safe pair of hands, they're investing in a solution, not gambling. They're like paying for someone that's a relief to them. Finally, I found someone capable. I mean, it's a beautiful intersection. And I think just you have to believe it and walk into it and just have as many discovery sessions with people as possible and get in the right rooms with people with money. I think you're going to make a killing.
Yep. Definitely have realigned myself with some really good rooms recently. That's
which is great. You're already ahead. You're not having to go find it.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we're at an hour. I know you have a game to get to, so I hope you enjoy your game. I have no clue what the world has for me when I walk out this door, but I guess I'll find out. Anybody watching, this is the Marketing Makeover Show. We didn't even dive into Pocket Marketer or marketing at any level. The goal was to serve you, so hopefully I did. Hopefully you have more clarity now, or at least you know what steps to take or how to think about what next steps to take. If you want to check out Pocket Marketer, pocketmarketer.ai. There's a link in the description. Once again, if you wanted the resource, which is my equity partner, 5 fundamental discovery questions, just comment below, worksheet or discovery. And if you wanted access to my 7 ways to win framework, business consultation, our business customer acquisition framework for redundancy, just type in 7 ways to win and I'll send that to you as well. And I'll give both of those to you directly as well. So thanks for being on the show. Any last words?
Thank you, Chris. This has been very, very valuable. I appreciate you.